In 1990, Peter Senge published his book, The Fifth Discipline. He wrote it in order to destroy the illusion that the world is created of separate, unrelated forces. This book challenges the traditional hierarchical model of businesses, sports teams, or any group of people working together to achieve a common goal, and encourages all members of the group to learn, create, share ideas, and motivate others to achieve the goal of the group. In his book, Senge describes the 5 disciplines that, when appropriately applied and integrated, result in a successful learning organization. These disciplines are mental models, shared vision, personal mastery, team learning, and most importantly, systems thinking. But what is a system? Baseball is a system. There's a pitcher, a first baseman, a batter, an umpire. These are all individual parts of the whole. When the individuals play the roles, the result is the system of baseball. Successful teams think of the whole. If each individual player only thinks about improving their own ability, there's disconnect between the team. So systems thinking is when a member of the learning organization thinks about the differences between the whole versus the individual parts. For example, how do my actions affect me versus how do my actions affect my organization? In systems thinking, the root causes of events are not easily identified as they are a result of a feedback loop rather than a chain of events. As education changes to meet the needs of the 21st century learner, it is important for administration to remember that meaningful change requires systems thinking. For example, blended learning. The integration of online learning and learning in a traditional brick-and-mortar classroom is becoming more popular in schools today as it meets many 21st century needs. In a blended learning environment, technology plays a major role in the learning experience for students who are using digital tools and resources to appropriately collaborate with others, design, create, publish, share, and view work. There are many benefits to blended learning, but to experience these benefits, the blended learning environment should be implemented with a systems mindset. In his book, Senge teaches us several lessons about systems thinking. When the 5 disciplines are applied and integrated appropriately, a learning organization can have long-lasting, meaningful results. However, when the disciplines are applied incorrectly or perhaps ignored, the learning organization may find itself in a loop of inefficiency, where issues are addressed individually in a short-term manner without acknowledging the system or any long-term effects. To avoid this loop of inefficiency when implementing a blended learning environment, we can apply Senge's 5 disciplines of the learning organization to the book Blended. In the book, authors Michael B. Horn and Heather Staker explain the steps necessary for developing an effective and meaningful blended learning environment to support both students and teachers. According to Horn and Staker, blended learning is the weaving of online learning into the brick-and-mortar experience. These in-person experiences allow for appropriate levels of scaffolding to better support students. Developing a blended learning environment in a school does not mean using Chromebooks or laptops in the classroom every so often. In fact, a long-lasting, effective blended learning environment requires a lot of work from all stakeholders, especially in the early stages. To help explain the necessary steps, I will compare the advice found in Blended to Senge's 5 disciplines of the learning organization. The first of the 5 disciplines is the idea of mental models. Chapter 9 of Senge's book helps readers better understand why when new, well-researched programs are put in place, they tend to fail despite acceptance by everyone involved. The reason, he explains, are deeply held internal images of how the world works. These subconscious generalizations limit our thinking. Before implementing a blended learning program, district leaders need to shatter the mental model of teacher as provider of all information and replace it with teacher as facilitator. In all of Horn and Staker's models of blended learning, the teacher is the facilitator, coach, manager, or supporter of learning. In their formal definition of blended learning on page 33, the authors make sure to mention that students must have some element of control in their learning. The teacher is no longer the sole authority of learning. Rather, students are expected to take control of their learning, and students and teachers are encouraged to support one another and learn together. Replacing the mental model of traditional teaching with teacher as facilitator is the first step of developing a shared vision of blended learning. For a school district, this means administration, teachers, students, and parents are working together to develop that shared vision. According to Senge, the shared vision serves as the organization's common identity and sense of destiny. Senge emphasizes that as people talk, the vision grows clearer, and as it gets clearer, enthusiasm for its benefits builds. But who's starting that conversation? Administration must work with staff to develop the shared vision, and Horn and Staker emphasize the significance of working with the right staff. This includes the skeptics, which is just as important, including the supporters of the vision, to encourage other skeptics to buy in while keeping the supporters in check. When supporting the shared vision of blended learning, district leaders and building principals can identify teacher leaders within this group of the right people. These leaders are teachers who not only communicate the vision well, but also model effective teaching and management strategies to support student learning. These teachers should be encouraged to lead and given the opportunity to continue learning. In doing so, the district is supporting Senge's discipline of personal mastery. Horn and Staker remind us that teachers can start innovating right away and boost learning by flipping classrooms or implementing a station rotation. In doing so, these teachers begin to communicate the vision, which can lead other teachers to research, learn, and meet with other teachers to discuss how to implement blended learning in their own ways. This leads us to the next of the 5 disciplines, which is team learning. Administration can take advantage of the excitement generated by individual teacher leaders and organize PLCs or workshops that model teaching strategies to support blended learning. As per systems thinking, teaching individual teachers and then expecting them to teach together will not work. Districts must teach them how to teach together. This type of collaborative learning among staff will also help those who are implementing the blended program to understand it better. Horn and Staker remind us that those responsible for the implementation must understand each important detail to experience success. Team learning in the form of professional development workshops can help staff reach that level of understanding. The last and most significant of the 5 disciplines is systems thinking. A blended learning environment requires teachers to think about how their actions influence their students' success, as well as how their classrooms interacting with other classrooms influence student learning. Teachers can do this by thinking about the student's perspective of the lesson or what may be interesting or motivating to them, rather than teaching the content to move forward the curriculum. Horn and Staker remind us of the importance of encouraging students to buy into the program. Students are given a lot of responsibility in a blended learning environment, so the challenge for teachers is to motivate students to take ownership of their learning. Teachers can do so by designing lessons or experiences that students embrace. When the students buy in and feel successful in the blended environment, teachers gain the freedom to challenge students further and develop independent problem solvers ready to learn in a 21st century environment. The discipline of systems thinking reminds us that everyone has a role to play, and when that role is played with an awareness of the whole, the learning organization can learn and grow. Blended learning is a team sport, just like the baseball game mentioned at the beginning of this presentation.